My selfish ex-wife walked out on me and our kids to chase true love, then expected me to pay for her new family, so I gave her a reality check. Roughly 8 years back, my marriage with my ex-wife Adabo came to an end shortly after the birth of our twins. Our relationship hadn't been long-term. We were together for about 14 months before the pregnancy news hit. Naturally, we freaked out a bit and thought maybe we should stay together for the sake of the children. You know how it is. People think that having kids will somehow patch up the relationship. I'll be honest, we weren't exactly the most compatible pair. We shared some happy moments, but the connection just wasn't deep or lasting. When she got pregnant, I hoped we could push through and build something solid. But truthfully, we were like oil and water. Still, for the sake of the twins, we gave it an honest try. Things were manageable at first. Sure, we had our share of disagreements like any couple, but nothing explosive. We made co-parenting work, and things were relatively peaceful between us. Then she met someone new, a guy she believed she had a real future with. I got it. She wanted a clean slate and a different life. She was open about it, and we agreed it was best to part ways. I wasn't devastated. The foundation of our relationship had never been strong anyway. We ended things respectfully and settled into a co-parenting routine. Things were fairly smooth. We split custody down the middle, kept our communication focused on parenting, and prioritized the well-being of the twins. We were determined not to let our issues impact the kids, so we made a genuine effort. Since we were sharing time and costs equally, there was no need for child support. About 2 years later, Adabo got involved with her now husband. Not the rebound guy, but someone new. Turns out he had a daughter the same age as our twins. Adabo introduced him and mentioned that things were getting serious. I wanted to support her effort to build a stable family environment for the kids, so I was on board. At first, it seemed fine. I thought she just wanted to merge families in a healthy way. But then she started hinting that I should treat her stepdaughter like my own. Don't get me wrong, I have no problem with her stepdaughter. She's just a child caught in the middle. But Adabo started expecting me to include her stepdaughter in everything I did with my twins. At first, I calmly explained that while I understand the desire for unity, I'm not the stepfather here. I'm already doing all I can to be a great dad to my own children. Still, she kept bringing it up. Co-parenting is already a juggling act, and adding these unrealistic expectations just made things harder. Eventually, it started to affect my time with my kids. Every outing or gift I planned became a debate about whether the stepdaughter should be included. I didn't mind inviting her once in a while, but it started becoming the norm. I wasn't trying to be difficult. I just didn't agree with being forced into a parental role for someone else's child. Over time, I noticed that anything special I did for my twins triggered a reaction if her stepdaughter wasn't treated exactly the same. One time, she actually got mad because I didn't spend as much on her stepdaughter's gift as I did for the twins. That was my breaking point. I decided to draw clear lines and keep my focus and resources on my own kids. I explained this to her, and of course, she didn't take it well. She accused me of being selfish and unwilling to support the whole family. But I never signed up for this big blended household idea she was trying to push. I reiterated that my job is to love and support my children. After that, our co-parenting style became more like parallel parenting. We stuck to our own schedules and didn't really mix households anymore. That kept things simpler and allowed me to give my kids undivided attention without being pulled in 5 directions. But Adabo would still bring it up occasionally, like I was doing something wrong by not co-parenting every kid under her roof. Her situation grew more complex. She and her husband had a baby together and later took in his nephew. Now her home had our twins, their stepsister, a cousin-like figure, and a half-sibling. She tried to unite them as one big unit, but I made it clear that my parenting role stops with my twins. And then came the school trip incident. My kids attend a small school with combined grade classes, so they share a class with their stepsister and her cousin. It's an odd setup, but it works for the school. This trip was a huge deal, an immersive museum experience with hands-on learning. My twins were beyond excited, and I was happy to fund it. But when I told Adabo, her reaction wasn't what I expected. She got quiet, then asked why the other kids couldn't go too. I thought she was joking, but no, she was completely serious. She insisted it was unfair for only our kids to attend if their stepsister and cousin couldn't. I reminded her that I was responsible for our twins, not every child in her house. I even suggested maybe she and her husband could raise the funds if they felt that strongly. But she doubled down, saying it would hurt the other kids emotionally and damage their relationship with my twins. Her husband chimed in too, claiming I was dividing the family. I asked him bluntly, Why is it my job to pay for kids who aren't mine? He acted like I was some villain for drawing a boundary. They accused me of causing emotional harm and being cold-hearted. I pushed back, saying I just wanted to do something kind for my kids without being guilted into funding someone else's household. But they wouldn't let it go. Eventually, I ended the conversation, but I knew this wasn't the last I'd hear of it. A few days later, Adabo asked to meet in person. We met at a diner, and right away, I knew it wasn't going to be a light chat. She launched into a monologue about how this wasn't just about a field trip. It was about setting a long-term precedent for fair treatment. She mentioned future vacations, parties, and family activities, suggesting I should start contributing equally for all kids involved. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was essentially asking me to fund her entire blended family. She used the emotional impact angle, claiming that inequality would create lifelong resentment among the kids. I calmly reminded her that only 2 of those children were mine. She wasn't satisfied. She said, "If you truly cared, you'd support the entire family." That's when her husband showed up. Whether planned or not, he just appeared and joined in. He accused me of building walls and being unfair. I told him my obligation begins and ends with the twins. He said if the kids grew up distant, it would be my fault. I called him out, saying he was pushing this "we're all family" idea only when it came to my wallet. Eventually, I had enough. I told them, if you want everything to be equal, that's your responsibility, not mine. I left the diner feeling drained but certain I had done the right thing. But the pressure didn't stop there. Soon, her relatives started messaging me. Her sister claimed I was damaging the kids' happiness. Her mother even called and implied a real man takes care of the entire household, even if it's not his. I respectfully disagreed and hung up. Then her brother made a passive-aggressive comment online about real dads. I deleted it and moved on. Even her husband ambushed me during a drop-off to repeat his guilt-tripping speech. I told him again, I'm responsible for my kids, not everyone else's. It was exhausting. I vented to friends who were equally stunned. One joked they should start a fundraiser themselves if they cared so much. Eventually, I realized reasoning with them was a dead end, so I made a final decision. I would reinforce my boundaries and not waver. I sat my twins down and assured them that the trip was just for them, that they didn't need to feel bad about enjoying something special. They were happy and excited, and that lifted a huge burden from me. I called Adabo and laid it all out, respectfully but firmly. I told her I'd continue doing right by the twins, but I was not responsible for the rest of her household. She tried again to guilt me, but I shut it down and said, this is final. She ended with a cold, fine, trying to make me feel guilty, but I didn't. The following weeks were blissfully quiet. No more messages, no more pressure, just peace. I spent more quality time with the twins, and the day of the trip went off beautifully. Seeing their joy reminded me what really mattered. Then came a surprise. Adabo called the next day, not to argue, but to say, we don't agree, but I respect that you stood your ground. It wasn't an apology, but it was acknowledgement. Since then, things have been easier. We may not see eye to eye, but we've found a functional rhythm. And I've grown as a parent because I'm no longer constantly questioning my choices. Setting boundaries taught me a key lesson. Saying no to others sometimes means saying yes to your own peace. A few weeks later, I thought it was over, until she brought up the twins' living conditions at her place. She said they didn't have the same comfort there and suggested I should fix that by buying them a second house. Yes, seriously. She expected me to purchase another home for them to stay in while at her place. She said it would level the standard and stop the twins from feeling like they're going back and forth between comfort and struggle. I asked if she was joking. She wasn't. She argued that it was about the kids' self-esteem. I responded firmly, saying if she felt their home needed an upgrade, that was between her and her husband. She snapped back, warning that the kids might feel like their real home was only with me. I didn't respond. That was the end of that conversation. I love my kids. I want the best for them. But I'm not financing someone else's lifestyle. And now, I've drawn the line, and I'm not moving it. She wanted me to buy her a house for the kids, but then took it even further. So I took legal action after shutting down her buy us a house suggestion. I thought that would be the end of it. I mean, what else could she possibly come up with that would top that? But when someone feels entitled, there really is no limit to how far they'll push. A couple of weeks went by. Things were calm. I was enjoying the time with my twins, focusing on their school projects, weekend games, and just keeping things light. The drama seemed to have taken a back seat. But of course, calm never lasts when you're dealing with someone who can't respect boundaries. One afternoon, I got a call from my twins' school. They wanted to confirm a recent update to the emergency contact and pickup list. Apparently, their mother had submitted a form stating that her husband should be treated as a legal guardian for both kids, with permission to make school-related decisions, pick them up, and attend parent-teacher meetings on my behalf. I was stunned. I hadn't been consulted, there was no discussion, and most importantly, her husband isn't their legal parent. I called the school immediately and told them to disregard the change. I made it crystal clear that only I and she have legal say in matters related to the twins. Once that was handled, I reached out to Adabo. She played innocent, said it was just to make things easier for everyone and that it wouldn't hurt for her husband to be more involved. I told her in no uncertain terms, it's not happening. These are my children. Her husband has no legal role in their lives and decisions involving them don't go through him. Period. She got defensive, said I was trying to exclude her family and that I was being unreasonable. But this wasn't about exclusion, this was about authority. And the fact that she was overstepping. And as if that wasn't enough, it escalated further. A week later, I got an email from her attorney. That's right, her attorney. The subject line alone made my stomach turn. Petition to adjust financial responsibilities and household equity for children. I opened the email, and it read like a list of demands. She was now trying to legally request that I contribute to improving the living conditions at her home. It wasn't child support. It was essentially a claim that my financial standing created an imbalance between the twins' two households, and that this imbalance was detrimental to their emotional well-being. She was asking for me to contribute toward a housing upgrade, cover transportation expenses for all the kids under her roof, provide a monthly allowance specifically for family blending needs. I couldn't believe it. She had truly crossed the line from misguided to manipulative. I contacted my lawyer immediately. We reviewed everything together and decided it was time to stop reacting and start taking action. First, we filed a motion to formalize our existing custody and financial arrangements in court. Everything had been informal before. We handled things ourselves without court orders because we wanted to avoid conflict. But now, I needed legal boundaries. Second, we requested a cease and desist letter regarding third-party guardianship overreach. Her husband had no legal right to represent or speak on behalf of my children, and we needed that on record. When the documents were served, I expected backlash, and I got it. She texted me a novel about how I'd betrayed her trust, how I was turning everything into a legal war, and that I was damaging the kids' future by fighting against unity. I didn't respond. Instead, I focused on what mattered, the twins. I sat them down and explained, in age-appropriate terms, that sometimes parents disagree, and that the most important thing is keeping them safe, happy, and loved. They didn't need to know the full drama, but they needed to feel secure. Court day came, and it was tense. Her lawyer tried to paint a picture of me as a cold, uncooperative father who refused to consider the children's broader family network. My lawyer countered with clear evidence, emails, messages, and records of my involvement with the twins. We emphasized that my commitment to my children had never wavered, and that I wasn't legally or financially responsible for kids who weren't mine. The judge thankfully saw right through it. He ruled in my favor, finalizing our previous custody setup and explicitly stating that my responsibilities extended to my biological children only. The motion for household equity was denied outright. The guardianship attempt by her husband was also rejected, with a firm reminder that legal guardianship cannot be assumed or delegated without due process. When the hearing ended, I felt a sense of closure I hadn't felt in years. For the first time, there were actual legal walls around the boundaries I had been trying to defend on my own for so long. She couldn't twist things anymore or use guilt as a weapon. It was liberating. After the court decision, things were much quieter. No more fairness lectures. No more messages from extended family. It seemed like the legal route finally made them realize I was serious. The best part? My twins started to seem lighter, more relaxed. It's like the tension that had been hanging in the background was finally gone. They didn't have to worry about being caught in the middle or made to feel guilty for having two different homes. And me? I started sleeping better. My time with them became more joyful, more focused, more meaningful. No more drama, just quality parenting. In the end, I learned that sometimes being a good parent means being the bad guy in someone else's story. It means standing firm when you're being manipulated. It means going to court if necessary to protect not just your children, but your sanity, your money, and your peace of mind. And if anyone ever tries to make you feel like doing right by your own children isn't enough, don't just defend your boundary, protect it, legally. If you enjoyed this story and felt the emotions behind it, don't forget to give it a like, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel for more real-life experiences and heartfelt stories. Your support means the world, and it helps us bring more content like this to you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.